Hello again. I think it's time we did a little bit of a Royal Mint update with what's been going on, and Christopher Inson, the solicitor in charge of the head legal counsel for the Royal Mint, that we've got going on. So I've had a reply from him. Interesting that he gave me the reply back on Friday and sent it special delivery for Saturday delivery, knowing full well that I work from home. And knowing full well that his letter was designed to intimidate and upset my weekend. So I'm sort of on. I'm not surprised that we're into playing those kinds of games. I'm just surprised that people of that, I don't know, that level of intelligence, if you like, have to resort to playing those kinds of games. Anyway, I'm sure the intention was to upset my weekend, but it didn't. And so what I'm going to do now is read you the letter that he sent me that I opened on Saturday morning, and read you the letter that I've just sent him today. Now, I'm sure at some stage of the proceedings, our solicitors, when we have them, are going to tell me that I can't carry on doing this. They're going to tell me, for whatever reason, to do with courts and legal and one thing and another, that I can't keep reading over. But until they do, I'll keep doing this. Right, so long and complicated, but I promised you that I would give you all of the inside update and tell you exactly what they said to us and exactly what I say to them. He makes a couple of comments in this letter. I can't resist throwing them back at him because I was a bit sort of, oh, that's a bit naughty, Mr. Inson. You know, some of the stuff you're saying is a bit naughty. So I couldn't resist throwing them back at him, and you may very well, I'll give you the nod on some of the ones which I'm going to throw back at him, and you'll see that in my reply. Anyway, eBay brand relations agreement. So this is to do with us calling ourselves Royal Mint authorised retailers, but it's also to do with unfair business practices. And this was our start off. We refer to your letter dated 3rd of May 2019, received by us on 13th of May 2019. You'll have to forgive me reading it off. The original compliment slip attaching the eBay brand relations agreement was not especially clear as to what you were seeking, but the agreement itself required our signature, which is why it was returned unsigned with the explanation provided. This is one of those comments I don't like. However, you clearly remain under a misunderstanding here. So let us take this opportunity to clarify the position in straightforward terms. You are not an official Royal Mint retailer. We have neither endorsed you nor recognised you as such. Well, both of those comments are going to come back and bite him on the bum. You approached us to buy a Royal Mint product directly from us. As you did not, some people are going to pick up on his spelling and so on. Maybe I've made a couple of mistakes too, but it should be products. You approached us to buy Royal Mint products directly from us. As you did not satisfy our selective distribution criteria, I never asked them to be a distributor. I never wanted to be a distributor. All I tried to do right from the beginning was buy the products off them. We provided you with contact details of Royal Mint distributors, including MNI. Details of our distributors are, of course, freely available on our website, so anyone can look at this and contact them. So apparently, if you've ever wanted to buy Royal Mint products and you want to buy them wholesale, there's a page on their site, I didn't know it existed, and there's a list there of all their distributors, and you can go and buy them. You have then purchased Royal Mint product from MNI. We do not give any instruction to any wholesaler, including MNI, as to whom they may sell to as you suggest. Any arrangement at that level is entirely a matter between MNI and their customer. Another one of them smart ass comments. With respect, on any interpretation, that does not possibly constitute you as an official Royal Mint retailer. We note that it is your stated intention to continue referring to yourself as an official Royal Mint retailer. We would strongly recommend that you refrain from doing so, not least due to its factual inaccuracy and its fraudulent and misrepresentative nature. Should you continue to hold yourself out this way, we reserve all of our rights, including the right to bring a claim against you for passing off and/or for malicious falsehood. We strongly recommend that you seek independent legal advice. And then, we trust this makes things suitably clear for you. So, I get all the threats, get that. Now, if this particular sentence was correct, then him saying on any interpretation, it doesn't constitute you as an official Royal Mint retailer, and so on and so forth. And if you continue to say you are, you're misrepresenting and fraudulent and all the rest of it. Yes, absolutely, makes all perfect sense. As long as the sentence, we provided you with contact details of Royal Mint distributors, including MNI, is correct. It's not correct. They never provided me with contact details of a list of distributors. They only ever gave me MNI, and even then, after 8-10 months. You know, at no time did anybody, including this solicitor, when I spoke to him a year ago on the phone, at no time did anybody tell me that there is a freely available list of all the wholesalers and distributors that the Royal Mint deal with, and that I could at any time go on and get that list and just approach any of those wholesalers and buy from them. If I knew that and I was directed to that, then I would be a complete idiot to go to a company that's in the Netherlands and pay the extortionate shipping. Anyway, with regard to your interpretation of the word distributor, again we seem at odds. Thank you for sharing an extract from what would appear to be a web page run by Houston Chronicle news agency. Whilst this may very well support your own particular way of thinking, it is not, of course, legally binding. In fact, there is no formal legal definition, certainly under the laws of England and Wales, of a distributor. We have never agreed or acknowledged a formal legal definition of the term with you, because it does not exist. As a concept, a distributor is simply someone who buys goods or services from a manufacturer or wholesaler and resells them on its own behalf to its customers. I actually don't agree with that. Obviously, some business models will have complex distribution structures in place with multiple distributors in between it and end users, but they are often much more straightforward than this. We absolutely acknowledge, as we did when we spoke last year, there is room for interpretation here, but in our case, we use the term distributor and we have no plans to make any immediate changes, to refer to anyone that buys product directly from us and resells them to its customers, at whatever level of the supply chain. There is nothing whatsoever misleading, erroneous or harmful about this at law. So what they're saying is anybody that sells their products can call themselves a distributor. So if we're Royal Mint authorised, we're not just a Royal Mint authorised retailer. According to what they've said, we can call ourselves a Royal Mint authorised distributor. Same as Slate 8 Group. Anyway. So, next one. And this is my reply. And I think, for those of you that have put in the pot for this, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. We ain't paid a penny out yet. Dear Mr. Inson, without prejudice, I'm going to have a drop of my tea. Hang on. Right then, so here we go. Dear Mr. Inson, without prejudice, eBay brand relations agreement and the definition of an authorised retailer. Thank you for your letter of the 24th of May, received by me on the 25th of May 2019, the contents of which have been noted. In my letter to you of the 3rd of May, received by you on the 13th of May, I stated this. I think you misunderstand my communications. I have not asked you to pursue anything with eBay, and I am at a loss as to how you misconstrued my inquiry to yourselves to that effect. It is because of the wordplay and misunderstandings of the legal definitions that we are where we are in this debate. I have not asked you to explore any sales channels. I go on to say, I see by your letter of the 24th we are not exactly moving past this issue of miscommunication and misunderstandings along with definitions of words and phrases. It starts to get a bit confusing. Most of the issues I have with the Royal Mint are surrounding the misinformation and incorrect information I have been given by various Royal Mint staff and departments. It seems you may now be experiencing the same, in that you are no doubt going off to talk to people to get a clear picture of what has happened and what communications there have been, and you're not getting the correct information either. It does make things very difficult, Mr. Inson. In my last reply of the 3rd of May, I pointed out several areas where you were completely wrong in what you stated. You have made no reference or acknowledgement of being incorrect. Neither have you challenged me on the points that I made. Excuse me. If I were to sum up your letter of the 24th, what I received on Saturday, of May, in layman's terms, it would be thus. I'm not allowed to call myself a Royal Mint authorised seller because the Royal Mint did not direct me to or authorise me to buy from one single distributor. Therefore, if I do not desist from calling myself an authorised Royal Mint retailer, I would be factually inaccurate, fraudulent, misrepresenting myself, and not only that, but the Royal Mint would sue me for passing off and/or malicious falsehood. If I am to fully understand this, all of these threats are based around you stating I was not directed to one single distributor and that I had the pick of who I went to as the information was freely available on your website. Oh dear, oh dear. It is obvious to me, however, you clearly remain under a misunderstanding here. So let me take this opportunity to clarify the position in straightforward terms. I am an official Royal Mint retailer, and you have endorsed or recognised me as such. I shall clarify further with a chronology of events in order to bring you up to speed, as you have been clearly misinformed on several fronts. When I first contacted the Royal Mint, I was not given the information that there was a free public list available of official Royal Mint distributors. Had that been the case, and I have to say I am at a complete loss as to why I was not told this in the very first contact, I would be in a completely different position to the one I am in now. It also has to be said that the relationship between me and the Royal Mint would also be quite different. I've been given the wrong information constantly for well over 18 months now, including and up to several weeks ago when we were lied to over the 2019 A to Z 10p, but I will come to that later in another letter. I was told there was a process, and that process involved me sending an email to a specific department where I was to wait until someone replied back to me. After around, or more than, 6 months, I got a bit fed up waiting. I phoned and I was told it was an admin error, and I was then given a point of contact, which was Stephen Ball. At no time during any of the written or many telephone conversations did anybody tell me there was a freely available list of distributors on the Royal Mint website, or even offer me such a list. I believe it was the 2nd of February 2018 when I finally received an application form to fill in. Again, imagine my surprise finding out from you now that all this was unnecessary, and either the several points of contact before this or Stephen Ball himself could have given me or directed me to this distributor list you speak of. Maybe you could give me the link. On the 27th of February 2018, I replied to Stephen Ball giving him the photographed copy of my application, and I said, "Thank you kindly, I just got it, I've printed it off, filled it in and photographed it for you, as that seems to be the only way it would not let me fill it in before printing. Please could you tell me why no one has contacted me in 3 months? I've completely lost out on the new coins, at least £80,000 worth of business due to Change Checker now going onto eBay and having the monopoly they do." This was back in February 18. So I go on to say in this letter, as you can see, Mr. Inson, as a business, time was not on my side and mine was an urgent application. On the 7th of March, I sent an email to Stephen Ball, 2019 that is. I think it might have been 2018 and I put 19 wrongly. Asking why no one had got back to me. He replied on the 9th saying, "Due to adverse weather, we have had a delay in reviewing the fact finder document. We should be able to come back to you by the middle of next week with an update on whether this will progress to an application." I'm not sure now, nor was I then, why adverse weather conditions would lead to my application being so delayed. How could weather conditions prevent Mr. Ball from giving me the list you speak of? On the 28th of March, I've put 19 again, but it's obviously 18. I've made 2 mistakes I haven't even noticed. Stephen Ball replied back to me, and I must have read this 10 times. Now at this point I must also add that in between these written contacts and communications there were numerous telephone calls. In one of these telephone calls, Stephen Ball said he would put me with one of your 12 UK distributors. This is a very important point. At no point has he or anyone else said or intimated that I could have a free list of distributors to buy from. He said I would be put with one of your UK distributors. Then I received this email on the 28th as referenced above. Dear Ian, firstly, thank you for taking the time to complete the fact finder document provided to you. This has helped us to gain an understanding of your business and suitability to become an official Royal Mint coin distributor. Strict selection criteria ensures any new official distributor appointed will be of an appropriate business size, brand, fit and addresses a gap in our existing distribution network. Unfortunately, you've been unsuccessful in meeting the above criteria, so will not be progressed to the application phase. So on the one hand, I've got this application going in to be a distributor, which I don't want to be. I just want to be a retailer of the product. After 18 months, he now tells us in his letter that as far as the word distributor is concerned, the Royal Mint class anybody that resells their coins as a distributor. I'm not allowed to be a distributor because I fail in their fact-finding and criteria and all the rest of it. It seems that the word distributor is being used in two different contexts and two different ways by the same people. I can't be a distributor, but I can be a distributor. It doesn't, I don't fit, my business size isn't right, my brand isn't right, I don't address a gap in their existing distribution network, so I can't be a proper distributor in the terms that you and I would class a distributor as, but I can be a distributor. It makes no sense. Please see details below of a distributor that could assist you, and here is the list. And as you can see, the list contains one and one only. There it is, M&I. That's the people we buy from. There's no list. The list that they send us contains one place. You do see my confusion, Mr. Vincent. I've gone through a laborious and time-consuming as well as time-wasting exercise that you say didn't need to be, because at any point I could have been given the list of distributors in but a few moments. The only distributor in more than 6 months of communications anyone from the Royal Mint gave me access to was and still is M&I from the Netherlands. For you to now state otherwise is pure fabrication. There was also a lot of time wasted in between communications with Stephen Bull going off on paternity leave. I make no negative comment regarding that, except to say the ridiculous delays and reasons and excuses for delays were all avoidable and unnecessary. By this time, I'm starting to think there is some kind of conspiracy betwixt the Royal Mint and 288 Group. Little did I know at that time how big and deep that would go, nor how much money is actually involved. On the 15th of May, I sent this to Stephen Bull. A new baby is a hell of a time and I wish you all the best. I do have to say that the history of communication between us and between me and the Mint has been seriously bad to the point of absolutely outrageous. I now have to wait another 2 weeks just to get a straightforward and honest reply. I'm not being funny when I say it would have taken you no more time to answer my email than it took to say you would be off for 2 weeks. I find it incredulous that no one else can answer an email when you go off work. Not a single person employed by the Royal Mint is authorised to pick up where you leave off. If I'm the only person emailing you that has this kind of diabolical service that I have had over the last 8 months, then I must be one unlucky guy, because I can't believe that every person that writes to the Royal Mint gets treated as badly as I do. Tell you what, don't stress while you're off work. It will be a lot faster if I just put in another Freedom of Information request. Enjoy the holiday paternity leave. I remember the moments soon vanish. As you can see, it is now the 15th of May and it has been more than 8 months and I'm starting to get somewhat peeved. Still, even at this point, no one gives me the list you mentioned of distributors I could easily choose from. I start to send Freedom of Information requests. I am told by the Royal Mint does not sell loose coin to anyone. When I eventually talk to you and your colleague, you acknowledge loose coin is in fact sold to 288 Group. I said then and still maintain that is an illegal monopoly. I have repeatedly asked you to prove you sell the same product to someone else somewhere in the world at the same price or close to it. Some proof there is an actual marketplace. Personally, I don't think there is. I think this is a private deal between you and them. You both said in that phone call that not only do you sell loose coin to other businesses and distributors, but that M&I could buy them too. I tried to get M&I to buy loose coin from you, but they said you refused. Which just adds to my statement made earlier. If you don't sell the same product to someone else at the same price or close to it, that is a monopoly, and it is one you both created with each other. On the 23rd of July 2018, the email I received from the Freedom of Information Department was to tell me my questions would not be answered because it would take up too much resources and also because I was being vexatious. If I was vexatious in any way, is it any surprise when I'm being constantly lied to and hampered? From then to now, the only reason I can think of for you to hampering our growth is to help and protect 288 Group, like a heavy-handed big brother. On or around the end of August, beginning of September, the phone call between you, Lisa Edward, and myself took place. I admit it was a fraught call and at a couple of points got very annoyed and angry. Now when I look back on it, I was completely justified to be so. I thought then I was getting the runaround, now you have confirmed it. In but a moment, I could have been given all the information I required. But instead, you have all played this game of denial and continued untruths. Honestly, Mr. Inson, I don't get it. You are all very clever people, so why do you need to be so unkind and nasty to the point of even threatening me with legal action for something that is incorrect or does not exist? Even in that phone call when I talked of the carbon footprint, you did not offer up the information I could buy from anyone on a certain list. I hope you can now see by the proofs above that I was directed to one single specific supplier to buy from, MNI in the Netherlands. You put me with them. You did not at any time give me an alternative. It was them or no one, so I naturally had no choice but to go with them. The carbon footprint on this is stupid and ridiculous, putting it bluntly. If I sell something to someone overseas, that item must now get on a bare minimum of 3 planes. The coins go from you to the airport where they arrive in the Netherlands, at which point they are unpacked, reboxed and taken to the airport to be sent to me. I then repackage them and send them to the customer, who if overseas means yet another plane ride. 288 Group are 30 miles down the road from me and receive delivery around 2 weeks before me. I am only allowed to order them once they are released, but 288 Group have them for sale on the day of release, thereby getting close on 2 weeks head start on businesses like mine. You're now telling me all of that was unnecessary and all that I could have had and that I could have had the same treatment and delivery as 288 Group all along. With respect, on any interpretation, all the above absolutely constitutes me as an official Royal Mint retailer. All of your threats, Mr. Inson, firstly chastising me for not understanding the protocols of letter writing and communications, then in this last letter threatening a bit more heavily with legal actions and a nasty intimation of fraudulent activity, which we all know is a veiled or open threat to involve the police. I can't begin to explain to you the stress this has put me through, but I will try. Some of this now, some of you already know, but you're hearing it again. Within days of our phone call, I was rushed to hospital. I was given an emergency bowel operation, a stoma, and the news I had cancer of the bowel, kidney area and bladder. I was facing an operation to remove quite a lot of my insides. In the following year, one operation had turned into 2. I had caught sepsis several times, lost part of my bowel with a permanent operation, at which point it was realised cancer was a misdiagnosis and I actually had diverticular disease. It seems I nearly died around 5 times. Approximately 6 weeks ago, I had around 5 heart attacks in 1 week and had a stent fitted whilst in the middle of a further heart attack. I tell you this not for any kind of sympathy. It is after all what it is. No, I tell you this because they tell me most of my illnesses are or have been caused by stress, including the seizures I now have. I am not actually blaming you or the Royal Mint for all my illnesses and troubles. However, the stress you have caused me for what must be more than 18 months now must in some way have contributed. I have repeatedly asked for a meeting and been ignored. I ask again, especially before this gets all legal and silly, please have a meeting where we can come to an amicable arrangement. It needs to be said that the Royal Mint's behaviour towards me and my business has been obstructive to say the very least, and I can't see any legal right or justification that the Royal Mint should or could obstruct a business in their legal trading of goods. I do hold the Royal Mint responsible for all and any losses for the last 18 months in relation to the losses associated to coins I have been denied access to. I also hold the Royal Mint liable for all and any postage costs I have incurred when buying from MNI on the basis that I should never have been forced to buy from them in the first place. For the postage I will send an invoice and then send a regular invoice to cover further delivery charges. I will also try and quantify any other losses and forward you a copy of that invoice as soon as I can, together with trying to quantify my future losses until this has all been worked out to everyone's satisfaction. I am sure, now you realise the depth of your responsibility, you will do the honourable thing and help to rectify this situation as soon as possible. I would appreciate, as I have said, the opportunity to arrange a meeting to discuss this further to reach a mutually agreeable conclusion. Interpretation of the word distributor. Now we come to the interpretations of the word distributor. I agree, I was quite wrong to use the words legal definition. There is no legal definition under the laws of England and Wales. I was wrong and I apologise for that mistake and stand corrected. There is no law, as you say, it does not exist. Maybe a legal case between us would actually help in obtaining a legal definition. It couldn't do any harm in finding an answer. Or could it? Whilst there is no legal definition, however, there is a so-called understanding of what the word means in the circle of business and commerce, and has been for generations, if not hundreds of years. I have to pull you up on your interpretation of what a distributor is. With regard to your interpretation of the word distributor, again we seem at odds. I believe you said, as a concept, a distributor is simply someone who buys goods or services from a manufacturer or wholesaler and resells them on its own behalf to its customers. I have a bit of an issue with this, Mr. Inson. A distributor never buys from a wholesaler, as you suggest. This is just not done. Business is not done this way. A distributor sells to a wholesaler or retailer, not the other way round. A distributor, out of basic courteous etiquette, never sells to the public. Again, it is generally understood this way and has been for many years. Your concept of a distributor is also something that does not exist. I have been buying and selling for over 50 years and I fully understand the concept of what a wholesaler is, what a distributor is and what a retailer is. You can play around with the wording and the concept of the wording all you like. It won't change the fact that 288 Group are not and never have been official Royal Mint distributors. They are nothing more than glorified official Royal Mint retailers with extra privileges and special treatment. I just do not understand and cannot comprehend why you don't admit that. They are retailers with special preferential treatment that have access to information and products before anyone else in our industry. That to me is not a level playing field. It is you looking after and giving special treatment to one retailer. You obviously know your Google search tools, Mr. Inson, pointing out to me, for example, where I took my quote from, which tells me you did the same Google searches as myself and found much the same answers as I did. In fact, I did quite a lot of searching, and the only businesses I could find that interpret the word distributor in the same way as you is the Royal Mint and 288 Group, and of course your good self. I can find no other businesses of any kind of repute that see the interpretation the same way you do. So I am at a loss as to how you can play around with and misconstrue the meanings of words in this way. As no one else, to my knowledge, interprets the word distributor the same way as you do, and as most everyone else I can find that expresses an opinion, one way or the other, seems to agree with my interpretation of the word distributor, I have to stick by what I said before, and according to your own wordplay, I would be classed as an official Royal Mint retailer. I am certainly more of an official Royal Mint retailer than they, in brackets, 288 Group, Change Checker and Westminster Collection, close brackets, would be classed as official Royal Mint distributors, by anyone's standards. It might be prudent to note that the Oxford English Dictionary defines the word distributor thus: an agent that supplies goods to retailers. This to me is quite specific. It does not say sells to public, it supplies goods to retailers. Whilst there is no actual legal definition in law right now at this moment in time, I feel quite confident any English legal system is likely to take what the Oxford English Dictionary interprets as a definition they are likely to go by. I trust this makes things suitably clear for you. Yours sincerely, Ian P. Lambert. CC Mr. Dade. So we're going to send this to Mr. Dade, which I think is the head of the Royal Mint. So, what we can see, this is one of the longest videos I've ever done. I don't even know if it'll all upload. So what we can see is that he hasn't done any homework whatsoever. He's not researched anything properly in both communications with us. He's not researched, he's not gone to the right people, found out the right information. Some of it he's even guessed at. And it seems the only actual diligence that he's done is the same Google search that I did to find the same articles that I did. And this, it has to be said, is the head legal person for the Royal Mint of England. It defies comprehension. So essentially their entire argument is centred around the fact that they say they gave me a list of distributors to choose from, and therefore because I could choose from anybody on that list, I can't call myself an official Royal Mint retailer because they did not direct me to a specific person on that list. My answer to that is, well, we can call ourselves an official Royal Mint retailer because the list that you gave us, yes, you gave us a list, you're absolutely right, you gave us a list, but that list only contained one supplier. Therefore, you forced us to go to one supplier, and the supplier you forced us to go to, Mr. Inson, was MNI in the Netherlands. Now, there is no way around that. Now, it also comes to pass that, you know, according to his own words, we don't just have the legal right to call ourselves official Royal Mint retailers, but we now have the right to call ourselves official Royal Mint distributors. Because Mr. Inson says that anybody, in their view, that buys the coins and resells them is classed as a distributor. So we could class ourselves as official Royal Mint distributors, even though, in his own words, they wouldn't let us become a distributor because we didn't pass the criteria, although nobody tells us what the criteria is. So, in the words of my granddad, and not meaning to sound too arrogant, I want to give you a bit of good news because that is good news to me. And in the words of my granddad, I think we got them by the short and curlies. I can't see that they've got any way out of that. So, and again, we haven't spent a penny yet, but if you still want to put in for it, remember it's 3 times your money. Check another video to find out what the terms are of that, because I ain't going to have enough time in this video to do it. But if you are new and you want to join in with this action against the mint, then when you're on our site, thegreatbritishcoinhunt.com, over on the top left, you'll see some categories, list of categories, one of which is advance orders, one of which is investments, and you want the investment one. And then when you go on the investment one, there's a listing there that's about suing the mint. And you can join it, and you can, anything from 25 quid upwards, and we'll give you 3 times your money. Now, even though I've been confident all the way through, and even though, in the words of my granddad, we've gotten by the short and curlies, I'm still going to say to everybody, as I've promised to say on every update that I do about the action for the mint, please, if you want to put in for it, we would be really grateful, but don't put in any more than you can afford to lose. If we should end up losing, which I seriously doubt now, but if we end up losing, then I will give you points back instead at some point in the future, but that will need to be sorted out in the future. However, if we win, which I seriously think we will, then you will get 3 times your money back. So it's a great investment, I think. But don't put in any more than you can afford to lose. I really, really, really do stress that. As much as I want you to put in loads and loads and loads of money, I don't want you to put in any more than you can afford. That is absolutely stringent. Okay, thanks very much. And if you want to put in for it, we'd be really grateful. I need to get that total up to about 15. We've got at the moment nearly 6,000 that's been added to it, so we could do a little bit more in that respect. I've also got some other issues with PayPal and eBay. I'm going to do separate videos for that, and those of you that are into this might be interested in that. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.